for our awareness and acknowledgement, we recognize that this land and associated waters where we meet today have been inhabited and stewarded by the indigenous Algonquin-speaking peoples for millennia. Today, we reside on the ancestral lands of the Massachusetts and Pawtucket tribes who were present since colonial times. Over the years, all these indigenous people have faced great sufferings and have been marginalized as conflicting indigenous and European cultures clashed. The indigenous peoples remain among us and take pride in their long-standing traditions and ancestral heritage. Let us learn from these tribal members and their descendants, support them as they still confront injustices today, and partake of their offered friendship as we come together as brothers and sisters and together strive for better understanding and more just futures.
Light, within all light, soul behind all souls. At the break of dawn, at the coming of day, we wait and watch. Your light within the morning light, your soul within the human soul, your presence beckoning to us from the heart of life. In the dawning of this day, let us know fresh shinings in our soul, in the growing colors of new beginning all around us. Let us know the first lights of our heart. Great star of morning, inner flame of the universe. Let us be a color in the new dawning. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, day's a breaking in my soul. That's your part. Please rise in body or in spirit. Bright morning star arising. This began as a beautiful, kind of sleepy Appalachian hymn. Some of you know it. Bright morning stars arising. Very beautiful. Cord Dorsey took that hymn and took it to the Seabrook nuclear power protests in the 1970s and kicked it up a notch and turned it into a movement anthem. And of course, being a folk singer, I added new words. So the chorus, bright morning star, just one, bright morning star arising, days a breaking in my soul. Give it a try. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days a breaking in my soul. There's some wonderful harmonies to be found in this song, and I love what Pete Seeger used to say about harmony. He said, don't be afraid of harmony. Harmony is any note that your neighbor isn't singing. Bright morning star. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days a breaking in my soul, for justice and compassion, for justice and compassion, for justice and compassion, for justice and compassion, days a breaking in my soul, for peace in every nation, 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 days a breaking in my soul, for the healing of creation, 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 days Days are breaking in my soul for the future of our children, for the future of our children, for the future of our children, for the future of our children. Days are breaking in my soul. Last time, bright morning star. Bright morning star arising. Bright morning star arising. Bright morning star arising. Days are breaking in my soul. Beautiful singing.
Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Bedford. Whether you're here for the first time, have been many times, are here in person, or joining by Zoom, we're glad you're here. I'm Corinne Doud, chair of the First Parish Environmental Justice Committee, which is coordinating today's Earth Day service. This morning, we are honored to have with us Reverend Fred Small, who you just heard, a Unitarian Universalist pastor, singer-songwriter, and former environmental lawyer. Reverend Fred Small serves as Minister for Climate Justice at Arlington Street Church, Boston. He is a strong advocate for environmental, racial, and climate justice. And in our quest to put solar panels on the roof of First Parish in Bedford, he submitted an affidavit in support of our solar panel litigation. We warmly welcome you, Reverend Fred. Following today's service, you can purchase Reverend Fred Small new children's book titled Everything Possible during community time in the common room, or you may pre-order it from your local bookseller. Then from 11:30 to noon in the Bacon Room, join us for an in-person post-service discussion with Reverend Fred Small, facilitated by Aaron Dorr. A couple more announcements. Stop by the environmental justice table during community hour about the 2 different petitions you can sign to Governor Healy. The first is to declare that there is no future for gas in Massachusetts. And the second one is to stop private jet expansion at Hanscom or any airport. Also, please stop by the plant fair table to sign up for volunteering at the May 20th fair and to ask questions, or perhaps take home a fun mug, t-shirt, or dish garden. We also invite you to stop by the lay pastoral care card table to sign cards. Now, Stacy Chandler would like to make an announcement about the ministerial search, and then after that, we'll be moving on to the unison affirmation led by Sarah Sjostrom. Stacy?
Pathetically short. Good morning. I'll try and tippy toes. So I'm Stacy Chandler. I'm with the search committee. Thank you. I never dare touch them. See, that's why. Yeah, that's why. So you've probably heard by now we have a candidate for senior minister, Reverend Jamie Hinson Rieger, and he will be here next Sunday. Believe it or not, we're already at that point. So you should have all received, hopefully, a postcard in the mail that outlines a number of different ways that all of you can meet him in person or over Zoom to talk to him about whatever you want to talk to him about. Be on the lookout for emails this week through Anno, through Biz, on Facebook, or just here at Chatter. We're going to be sending out as many details as possible about all those events and about other ways that you can learn more. We just received a fun video, which we should be putting out soon for all of you, that you'll have a chance to learn more from Reverend Jamie himself. We will have a table ourselves at coffee hour today, so you can come pick up more postcards. And you can also learn about the not so complex, but it seems complex, voting process. Because Jamie will also be preaching on Sunday, May 7th. And after that session, we will be voting immediately about whether we will be calling him to be our senior minister. So we have more details about that process at the table today, and you can come learn about that. And I think that is it for now. Thank you.
Good morning. I now welcome you to rise in body or spirit for our unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Este es nuestro gran pacto, vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en espíritu y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
"40 years ago, when I was a traveling folk singer, I passed through Seattle, Washington, and visited my friend Janet Peterson, a lesbian mom and a cellist and a singer with a wonderful women's band called Motherlode. And she told me her son was struggling. Her son Aaron was 9 years old. And at school, he was starting to get messages that there were right ways to be a boy and wrong ways to be a boy. He was finding out from some of his buddies that he was supposed to be tough and strong and maybe a little mean and never cry, not show emotion, except maybe anger. And it was hard. It was hard for him because he just wanted to be himself, whatever that might mean. And so Janet, his mom, worried about him, asked me if I might write a song that she could sing to him to let him know that there are a lot of wonderful ways to be a kid, to be a grown-up in this world. Now, she probably asked every songwriter who passed through Seattle, but I was the one who took her up on it, because the next day I had a long bus ride. It was a rainy day, very much like this one, and I took a bus ride to my next show at Evergreen State College. And on that bus ride, I wrote this song, and I hope you'll help me out with it. We have cleared off the table, the leftovers saved, washed the dishes and put them away. I have told you a story and tucked you in tight at the end of your knockabout day. As the moon sets its sails to carry you to sleep over the midnight sea, I will sing you a song no one sang to me. May it keep you good company. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whoever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. Try that with me. You can be anybody you want to be. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whoever you will. You can travel any country. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. Some children grow up strong and bold, while some are quiet and kind. Some race on ahead, some take it slow, some go in their own way and time. Some women love women, some men love men, some leave every label behind. You can dream all the day, never reaching the end of everything possible you'll find. Don't be rattled by names, by taunts, by games, but seek out spirits true. If you give your friends the best part of yourself, they will give the same back to you. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whoever you will. You can travel any country. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one, and the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. The love you leave behind when you're done. Thanks for singing with me. I invite you to join in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life, Holy One, essence and breath of all that is, take my fear and let it become wonder. Take my grief and let it become compassion. Take my doubt and let it become courage. Take my self-centeredness and let it become love. Take my broken heart and let it become my strength. Amen. In silence, we descend deeper than words, centering down to the ground of being. During the silence, I invite you to pray or to meditate or to contemplate ultimate things. Let us enter the silence. Amen.
This is a reading by Joy Harjo from Crazy Brave, a memoir. She's a member of the Muskogee Creek Nation and United States Poet Laureate. Once I traveled far above the earth. This beloved planet we call home was covered with an elastic web of light. I watched in awe as it shimmered, stretched, dimmed, and shined, shaped by the collective effort of all life within it. Dissonance attracted more dissonance. Harmony attracted more harmony. I saw revolutions, droughts, famines, and the births of new nations. The most humble kindnesses made the brightest lights. Nothing was wasted. This is a congregation that cares for the earth and for one another, and as we move to our offering, we ask that you consider giving generously to sustain this wonderful effort. Thank you.
I knew a man once who tried to save a tree. It was a magnificent red oak planted in the 19th century. Through numberless winters and springs and summers and autumns, its roots had penetrated deep into the soil, and its trunk had grown tall and strong. Generations of families and friends and lovers had gathered gratefully in the shade of its broad canopy. And the man loved the tree and held it sacred. But the tree grew close to a building, and one day the owners of the building decided the building needed to be improved and expanded. The tree would have to be cut down, they said. And so the man who loved the tree wrote letters and social media posts to try and change their minds. He organized others and enrolled political leaders in his cause. "Save the tree," they cried. The owners were unmoved. "It's true," they said, "the tree is old and beautiful, but it's actually not in very good shape. It'll die soon anyway. Besides," they said, we have no choice. We've examined every alternative, and none is practical within our budget. The tree must go." Outraged, the man assailed their motives and integrity. His letters and posts grew more acerbic and sarcastic. At last, his belligerence and ill temper drove away even people who also cared about the tree and might have helped save it. And so the tree was cut down. And all who saw its severed limbs couldn't help noticing how healthy they looked. And the man cursed the owners for their stupidity and short-sightedness. This good man who loved trees so profoundly and so passionately had not learned from them. His feverish, frenetic activism was nothing at all like a tree. He championed the sacredness of trees while neglecting the sacredness of human beings, including his own. He knew the worth of trees, but not the peace of trees. Don't we all make the same mistake, at least some of the time? More than half a century ago, the Trappist monk and peace activist Thomas Merton warned, "There is a pervasive form of contemporary violence to which the idealist most easily succumbs: activism and overwork. The rush and pressure of modern life are a form, perhaps the most common form, of its innate violence," he said. "To allow oneself to be carried away by a multitude of conflicting concerns, to surrender to too many demands, to commit oneself to too many projects, to want to help everyone in everything, is to succumb to violence. The frenzy of our activism," Merton said, "neutralizes our work for peace. It destroys our own inner capacity for peace. It destroys the fruitfulness of our own work because it kills the root of inner wisdom, which makes work fruitful." The frenzy of our activism destroys our inner capacity for peace and the fruitfulness of our work. Actually, Thomas Merton was lucky. He died before Twitter. Twitter, that twilight zone of snark, contempt, adorable animal videos, occasional inspiration, and permanent outrage, where I, for one, have wasted far too much of my time. It's easy to be punitive and make others disposable, cautioned Tom DeWolf and Jody Geddes in The Little Book of Racial Healing. The difficult task, they write, is in telling the truth in ways that seek healing and transformation. We are beset today by a host of daunting challenges, all of them urgent and interconnected, many seemingly intractable. From patriarchy to white supremacy, from public corruption to secret abuse, from Islamophobia to transphobia, from gun violence to armed insurrection, from mass incarceration to mass extinction. It is natural for us to feel grief, anger, fear, and despair. I am a climate justice activist. Despair is my constant companion. By now, it's almost an old friend. It seems every new report coming from the scientists is even more depressing than the last. As Lily Tomlin once observed, things are going to get worse before they get worse. The realization that it's too late to prevent significant global warming, too late even to prevent vast suffering, has had a surprising effect on me. Instead of making me more anxious and agitated, somehow it has calmed and steadied me. For decades, as a climate activist, I felt like I was in a rowboat over a thundering waterfall, rowing frantically to keep from going over the falls. Well, the boat is going over the falls. We are plummeting, tumbling, crashing into the unknown at vertiginous speed, and yet somehow at the same time in slow motion. Terrible things are happening and will happen. Millions will suffer and die, with the worst impacts upon those least responsible for the problem, people of color and people living in poverty all around the world. But it is never too late to save the next life, or the next community, or the next species. It's never too late to do the next right thing. I vow to do everything I can to reduce the suffering, to tend to the wounded, and to build a more just, more caring world. But since I believe it is too late to head off catastrophe, I am resolved to do these things mindfully, with love and compassion and tenderness and generosity of spirit. Because given the certainty of suffering, the how of what we do, the how is as important as the what or even the when. Our climate future is not binary. Everything's going to be wonderful or everything's going to be terrible. Ecotopia or dystopia. The future will almost certainly have elements of both. And where the balance between them falls will depend upon an infinite number of choices, my choices and your choices and the choices of our children and their children and their children. We don't know what's gonna happen. I do hope that the human species survives the crisis we have created. But whether or not we do, we know that life on Earth has already survived 5 major extinctions. Life will endure. And intelligent life will continue to evolve with luck and the grace of God, not only smarter, but also wiser, kinder, and more compassionate. As we confront this crisis, Potawatomi botanist Robin Wall Kimmerer reminds us we don't have to figure out everything by ourselves. There are intelligences other than our own, teachers all around us. If we understood that, imagine how less lonely the world would be. So, as we struggle to save our trees, what can we learn from them? One thing we can learn is patience. When we're in mortal danger, patience can be hard to cultivate. Trees can help us. Trees take the long view. They have to. Many live hundreds, even thousands of years. Longevity counsels patience. By patience, explains Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron, we do not mean enduring, grin and bear it in any situation. Instead of reacting suddenly, we could chew it, smell it, look at it, and open ourselves to seeing what's there. The journey of patience, Chodron says, involves relaxing, opening to what's happening, experiencing a sense of wonder. I'm looking at the blossoms of that tree right outside the window. So beautiful, so miraculous, even amidst all the suffering. To be patient means to slow down. On an exposed cliffside in the Canadian Great Lakes is a white cedar that's taken 155 years to reach the towering height of 4 inches. That's taking it slow. Even when a tree is under threat, it responds slowly. When a caterpillar begins to chew on an oak leaf, it can take an hour before defensive compounds reach the leaf to repel the pest. The hectic pace of humans takes a toll. A toll on our activism, our relationships, and our souls. We can be peaceful in our fervor, insists Charles Eisenstein. We can be patient in our urgency. In a society hyped up on hyper-individualism, trees remind us of the interdependence of all beings. Far from the solitaries they can appear, trees are deeply embedded and active in a community of interconnection, which forest ecologists sometimes playfully call the wood wide web. Whether by interlacing root systems, fungal networks, or release of chemical scents, trees warn each other of predators and harmful insects. They can even share nutrients with one another. According to ecologist and Tsimshian native Dr. Teresa Ryan, when a tree in a warming forest dies, it donates its carbon not to its own offspring or even to others of the same species, but to the newest arrivals in the forest, those most likely to survive as temperatures increase. A bequest of generosity, akin to altruism. Trees model for us the power of commitment, of choosing to be rooted in one place. When a seed takes root, it makes a lifelong commitment to that very spot. There it must adapt or die. Our commitments need not be absolute, but they call us to strive and to struggle, to honor our relationships, our communities, and our principles. Commitment demands persistence. Trees persist through high winds, torrential rains, heavy snowstorms that bend their branches, and ice storms that break them. If you've ever seen a tree clinging to seemingly naked rock, its root tips stretching to every particle of soil, sucking in the tiniest droplet of moisture, you know what persistence looks like. Trees teach us. They teach us to live with loss. Every fall, deciduous trees surrender their leaves to the forest floor, enriching the soil not only for themselves, but for all who share their ecosystem. And trees endure the deaths of their companions. From wind fire, storm, disease, logging, and old age. Trees embody the perfection of imperfection. Admiring an old maple in Connecticut one time, I was struck by its sinuous beauty. And as I looked more deeply, I realized its beauty lay precisely in its irregularity, its imperfection. Had it been perfectly straight, perfectly uniform, perfectly symmetrical, it would have been grotesque. Only human beings make things that way. God knows better. Maybe I too could accept my imperfections as a mark of beauty. We teach what we most need to learn. When I spend time with trees, I sense their humility, their kindness, their love. Now, I used to think it was anthropomorphic to ascribe human attributes to non-human beings, but I no longer think so. Actually, I think it's anthropocentric to think so. We are all sentient beings. We know that plants feel pain and distress. Why shouldn't trees, in their own way, feel love? If you doubt that, I invite you to spend more time with trees, touching their bark, gazing up at their leaves, and just listening. Trees have been among my wisest and most reliable teachers. As a child, Howard Thurman, who would grow up to become one of the great preachers of the 20th century and a spiritual advisor to Martin Luther King Jr. As a child, he discovered a unique relationship with an oak tree in his backyard. I could sit my back against its trunk, he remembered, and reach down in the quiet places of my spirit, take out my bruises and my joys, unfold them, and talk about them. I could talk aloud to the oak tree and know that I was understood. It too was part of my reality, like the woods, the night, and the pounding surf, my earliest companions, giving me space. Today we need love more than ever. Climate and racial justice advocate Mary Anastasio confesses that love is what keeps her going. I don't mean any simple, sappy kind of love, she declares. I mean living, breathing, heart-beating love, wild love. This love is not a noun. She is an action verb. She can shoot stars into the sky. She can spark a movement. She can sustain a revolution. I love this beautiful, mysterious, complicated planet we get to call home, she says. I love that nighttime symphony on steamy southern nights when the frogs croak and the crickets sing and the owls hunt. I love the delicate feel of honeysuckle petals and the warm, grainy earth and dewy grass on my bare feet. This love, she says, this love is strong enough to break through the terror. She is hot enough to burn through anger and turn into fury. She can shake you out of your despair and propel you to the front of the battlefield. It's a love that can also, even in the teeth of these most insurmountable odds, give me hope. Hope, if I'm brave enough to accept it. I'll let the trees have the last word, with the assistance of their friend and interpreter, the late poet Mary Oliver. Unitarian Universalists technically don't have saints, but I think if we did, Mary Oliver would be among them. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust. Equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines. They give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches, and they call again. "It's simple," they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. Amen. And blessed be. Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Please rise in body or in spirit. This song was written by Guy Carawan, inspired by the spirituality of the Carolina Sea Islands. Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Give it a try. Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right? 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 Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? So rocky the road, so rocky the road, so dangerous the journey, so dangerous the journey, but we got a right. But we got a right. Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right? 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 Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? We come from a distance. We come from a distance. We come from a distance, and we got a right. And we got a right. Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right? 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 Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Our lives will be sweeter. Our lives will be sweeter. Our lives will be sweeter, 'cause we got a right. Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right? 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 Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Let's sing it together one last time, and I'm going to invite you to do something. Invitation is a wonderful word in religious community, because an invitation, of course, can always be declined. My invitation to you is, when we sing it together this last time, to join hands with the person next to you. Now, if you are not comfortable doing that, do not do it, even if somebody reaches for you aggressively. Just say, "No, thank you." That is your sacred right. But if you feel comfortable holding the ungloved, unmasked, unsanitized hand of the person next to you, it's about time. That's a personal statement. I'm I love Zoom. Zoomers, we love you. I'm so zoomed out. Zoom is a wonderful technology. It does wonderful things. It makes accessible many things that were not accessible. We love Zoom. And sometimes it's just exhausting. So for those of you who are in the sanctuary, if you feel comfortable, and I see some of you are, join hands with the person next to you and let's sing the song together one last time. Ain't you got a right, 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 ain't you got a right to the tree of life. Ain't you got a right, 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 ain't you got a right to the tree of life. Beautiful singing. The words of Stephanie Kaza. Let go of the place that holds. Let go of the place that flinches. Let go of the place that controls. Let go of the place that fears. Listen. The wind is breathing in the trees. Walking in the dark night, I practice courage, accepting the vastness of what I cannot see. Amen, and blessed be.